Hey everyone, welcome to Reality TV News Update, the place where we bring you the latest updates, fun moments, and behind-the-scenes stories you won't want to miss. The Big Brother 27 house was electric with tension as the cameras panned across the living room where the remaining house guests were gathered to watch the live announcement. Morgan sat on the edge of the couch, her fingers nervously tapping against her knees, her eyes darting between the screen and the reactions of the other players. The week had been filled with drama, alliances shifting, and secrets being exposed. And now it had all come down to this moment. Ashley had been a powerhouse in the house from the very beginning. Her strategic gameplay had been calculated, yet bold, earning both respect and envy from her fellow house guests. Vince had been her closest ally in the game, or at least in public. Behind closed doors, their relationship had been complicated, a tangle of loyalty, attraction, rivalry, and hidden agendas that had no clear lines. Morgan had watched it all from a distance, navigating her own gameplay carefully, never fully committing to either side, but always observing every nuance. When the host stepped onto the stage and began the speech leading up to the final decision, Morgan felt a pit form in her stomach. This was the moment she had both feared and anticipated. Ashley had made a big decision earlier in the day, one that could change the trajectory of the game, and Morgan knew it. The other house guests whispered among themselves, speculating on what Ashley would do and how it would affect Vince and everyone else. Morgan's mind raced back through the days leading up to this moment. She remembered the nights spent in the HOH room strategizing with Vince. They had shared more than just game plans. Their conversations often strayed into personal territory. Vince had always been charming but enigmatic, and Morgan had been both attracted and frustrated by his mixed signals. They had laughed, cried, and occasionally argued about decisions in the game and outside it. But the line between friendship and something more had always been blurred. Ashley's big decision was revealed first. She had chosen to keep her alliance intact despite a tempting offer from another house guest. The room erupted in shock and awe. Morgan's eyes widened, and she sat forward, feeling the impact of Ashley's choice immediately. This was a move that solidified her position as a top contender for the win. Morgan admired the audacity it took to make such a call. There was no hesitation in Ashley's decision, only confidence and a firm understanding of her own game. Vince's reaction was complicated, as Morgan had expected. He looked torn, conflicted between supporting Ashley and acknowledging the personal and strategic consequences of her move. Morgan felt a pang of sympathy and confusion. She knew that Vince's loyalties were never simple. He was loyal to the game, to his own code, but also deeply affected by personal connections. Watching him struggle visibly brought back memories of moments when Morgan had questioned where she stood with him. The announcement of the winner came next. Ashley had won the final vote, securing the grand prize. The house exploded with a mixture of cheers and groans. Morgan felt a surge of admiration and relief for Ashley. She had played an impeccable game, earning her victory through a combination of intelligence, social acumen, and daring strategy. Yet even in the midst of the celebration, Morgan could not ignore the tension in the room. Vince was visibly processing everything, his face a mixture of pride, happiness, and underlying regret. Morgan approached Ashley after the announcement, offering a handshake and then a warm hug. She congratulated her genuinely, recognizing the effort and courage it took to win. Ashley's eyes sparkled with excitement and relief. She had worked tirelessly to reach this point, and now she had achieved it. But Morgan's mind was elsewhere. She could see Vince standing a few feet away, his expression unreadable. Their complicated relationship hung in the air like a delicate thread, neither willing to address it directly in front of the others. Later in the house, Morgan found a quiet moment to reflect. She thought about the alliances that had shifted, the betrayals, the unspoken pacts, the friendships that had lasted despite the chaos. She thought about Vince and their connection. It had always been complicated, and even now she struggled to understand where they truly stood. There had been moments of closeness, tinged with rivalry, moments of laughter, shadowed by disappointment. The game had magnified everything, forcing emotions and strategies into stark relief. Morgan decided she needed to confront the feelings she had been avoiding. She found Vince sitting alone in the backyard, the night air cool around them. He looked up as she approached and offered a tentative smile. "You okay?" Morgan asked quietly. Vince shrugged a little and exhaled. "Yeah, I think so. It's been a lot." Morgan nodded. "I know, it's been complicated. All of this, us, the game." Vince's eyes met hers, and there was an honesty there that Morgan rarely saw. "I know. I don't think either of us fully understand what this all means right now." Morgan took a deep breath. "Maybe we don't have to understand it yet, and maybe we just acknowledge it. The tension, the confusion, everything. We don't have to define it in the middle of this chaos." Vince smiled faintly. "I think I can do that." For the first time in weeks, Morgan felt a small sense of peace. They didn't have the answers yet, but acknowledging the complexity of their relationship was a step forward. The game had forced them into roles and decisions that complicated feelings, but it also revealed the strength of their connection. The next day, the house guests gathered to discuss Ashley's win and the aftermath of her decision. Morgan participated fully in the conversation, analyzing moves, giving her insight and perspectives. She spoke thoughtfully about the strategy behind Ashley's choices and how Vince's position had been affected. Her analysis was respected by the others, but Morgan was careful not to reveal too much of her personal reflections. She had learned that in the Big Brother house, observation and discretion were powerful tools. Vince approached her later with a small smile. "You were right about her move. She played it perfectly." Morgan nodded. "Yeah, she did. And you handled it better than I expected." Vince chuckled softly. "Thanks. But I think we both know this game isn't really over for us. The dynamics may have shifted, but we still have to process everything." Morgan smiled. "We do. And maybe we can do that together." The conversation was simple but loaded with meaning. It signaled a willingness to move forward cautiously and intentionally. The house had been a crucible of intense emotions and calculated strategies, but it had also created bonds that would not be easily broken. Morgan and Vince's relationship was emblematic of this complexity. It was messy, nuanced, and unpredictable, but it had survived the fire of competition and scrutiny. In the days following the finale, Morgan kept in touch with Ashley, offering congratulations and debriefing the intense experience. She and Vince also began to have longer conversations, exploring their relationship outside the context of the game. It was a slow process filled with honesty, introspection, and mutual respect. They both knew that the complexities of the past could not be erased, but they also understood that the shared experience had created a unique bond. Morgan realized that the Big Brother house was more than a game. It was a mirror reflecting desires, fears, strengths, and weaknesses. It revealed who people were under pressure and how they responded to challenges and opportunities. She had learned lessons about strategy, empathy, resilience, and the power of human connection. And as she looked back, she understood that Ashley's big decision and win were a catalyst not just for the outcome of the game, but for the growth of everyone involved. It had forced Vince and her to confront the ambiguities in their relationship and had created space for reflection, understanding, and perhaps a new beginning. Morgan smiled softly, thinking about the journey she had taken. The house had tested her limits and pushed her to grow. The experiences had been intense and often overwhelming, but they had left her with a sense of clarity and purpose. She had witnessed strategy and emotion collide and had learned the delicate balance of competing fiercely while remaining true to herself. In the end, Morgan knew that the game had ended, but the lessons, the connections, and even the complications would endure. The story of Big Brother 27 was not just about who won or lost. It was about the human experience revealed in its most intense and unfiltered form. And Morgan felt ready to carry that experience forward into whatever came next, embracing both the victories and the challenges with open eyes and an open heart. The Big Brother 27 house was filled with tension as the final moments approached. Morgan sat on the edge of the couch, her hands clasped tightly, her eyes fixed on the screen. Every move, every word mattered now. The house had been a whirlwind of alliances, betrayals, and unexpected twists, and Ashley had made a big decision that would shake everything. Ashley had always been a strong player in the game. Her strategies were bold and calculated, earning her both admiration and envy. Vince had been closely tied to her game, in some ways an ally, in others a rival. Morgan had watched their complicated relationship unfold, quietly observing every glance, every conversation, every subtle shift. The announcement of Ashley's big decision sent shockwaves through the room. She chose to stick with her core alliance, despite tempting offers that could have changed her position. Morgan's eyes widened as she realized the impact. This choice solidified Ashley's path to victory. Morgan felt a mix of awe and relief. Ashley had shown courage and confidence that few could match. Vince's reaction was complicated, as Morgan had predicted. He looked torn between celebrating Ashley's success and understanding the consequences of her decision. Morgan felt a twinge of empathy for him. She knew Vince's loyalty was never simple. His feelings were layered, influenced by strategy, attraction, and personal connection. Watching him wrestle with emotions reminded her of the many moments they had shared in the house. Morgan remembered nights spent strategizing with Vince. Their conversations often strayed beyond the game. There were laughs shared and moments of tension, moments that had blurred the line between friendship and something more. She had always wondered where she truly stood with him. The game had made everything more intense, magnifying emotions and forcing clarity that was often unwelcome. The final announcement came. Ashley had won the game. The room erupted in cheers and groans. Morgan felt a surge of admiration. Ashley had played a masterful game, earning victory through intelligence, determination, and social skill. Vince stood nearby, his expression a mixture of pride and something unresolved. Morgan felt the weight of their complicated dynamic pressing against the celebratory atmosphere. Morgan approached Ashley, offering congratulations with warmth and sincerity. They hugged and exchanged a few words, acknowledging the effort and courage it took to reach the finale. Ashley's eyes shone with relief and happiness. She had fought hard and deserved every moment of triumph. Morgan turned her gaze toward Vince, who remained quiet. Their relationship had always been tangled and complicated. Now it seemed even more so. Later, Morgan found a quiet spot in the backyard to reflect. She thought about the alliances that had shifted, the betrayals that had stung, the friendships that had lasted. She thought about Vince and the connection they had built amidst chaos. It was messy and confusing, but undeniable. She realized the game had revealed truths about them both, and their ability to navigate intense pressure. Morgan decided to approach Vince. She found him sitting alone, staring at the night sky. He looked up as she approached, giving her a tentative smile. "You okay?" Morgan asked softly. Vince exhaled. "Yeah, I think so. It's a lot to process." Morgan nodded. "I know. This game has been complicated, and so have we." Vince's eyes held honesty that Morgan rarely saw. "I know. I don't think either of us fully understand what this all means yet." Morgan took a deep breath. "Maybe we don't need to. Maybe we just acknowledge it for now. The tension, the confusion, the emotions, we don't have to solve everything immediately." Vince smiled faintly. "I think I can do that." For the first time in weeks, Morgan felt a small sense of peace. They didn't have answers, but recognizing the complexity of their relationship was a step forward. The house had been intense, forcing honesty and strategy to collide, but it also created connections that would not disappear. Morgan and Vince's relationship reflected that. It was layered, unpredictable, and challenging, but enduring. Morgan reflected on the journey of Big Brother 27. She remembered triumphs, heartbreaks, betrayals, and alliances. She thought about Ashley's win and how it had shifted the game's balance. She thought about Vince and the emotional complexities that had accompanied their shared experiences. The cameras captured every reaction, every smile, every tear and reflection. Morgan felt pride, relief, and anticipation. The game had ended,
but the connections it fostered remained. Morgan realized that Big Brother was more than a competition. It was a mirror, reflecting character, resilience, strategy, and emotion. Ashley's win and decision had been a catalyst not just for the game, but for personal growth. It forced Vince and Morgan to confront ambiguity and uncertainty. It opened space for understanding, reflection, and perhaps a new beginning. Morgan smiled, thinking about the experience. The house had tested her limits and pushed her growth. The moments of intensity had left her with clarity and perspective. She had witnessed strategy and emotion collide and learned to balance competition with authenticity. In the end, Morgan understood the game had concluded, but the lessons, the bonds, and even the complications would endure. Big Brother 27 had been a test of mind, heart, and spirit. Morgan felt ready to carry those lessons forward, embracing the victories and challenges with honesty and strength. She looked toward Vince, who had joined her quietly, and felt a sense of cautious hope. They had survived the game and its trials together. Now it was time to navigate the complexities of the world outside the house. Their relationship remained unresolved, but promising, full of potential and lessons learned. Morgan exhaled slowly, feeling a mixture of relief and excitement. The journey had been intense, but it had taught her about strategy, empathy, resilience, and connection. Ashley's big decision and win had reshaped everything, but it also clarified what mattered most. Morgan knew the story of Big Brother 27 was more than who won. It was about human experience in its rawest form and the growth that came from embracing both triumph and challenge. And as she stood watching the stars that night, she felt ready to face whatever came next with an open heart and clear mind.